There you go, prime example. He zip tied all the wire into place. So they tried. They had potential. Got my miner's hat on. Now up to this point, some of you guys might be going, Dean, it's really not that bad. I would agree with you, it's not. I mean, it's just picky Dean doing things and seeing things that he doesn't like. However, that's when you start pulling off panels and finding things that aren't supposed to be a certain way. And Fernando's working on the back deck and he says, come here, you gotta see this. And I said, I live to see this. So at first glance, you look at the rear deck and you're like, okay,
they sound treat the whole back deck.
And after looking at this, you kind of get an idea of their ability to do sound treatment. I don't know why this is, anyways. And then he went to put some of the clips back, because we always say when you pull something out, put the, your clips, if one falls off, put it back.
But did they just...
This is duct tape.
Yeah.
So this is a piece of duct tape. All of this.
Now, look at that. You pull the duct tape and...
The sound treatment is coming right off. It's not even attached. So there's just duct tape on the rear deck. Look, the whole thing is duct, like, I gotta be honest, I think duct tape costs more than sound treatment these days. Why would you waste all of this? Like, what were you hoping to accomplish? Like, duct tape is not, this is some cheesy.
I mean, it's not doing anything though.
No.
It's like, that's fine. You don't want to put the sound treatment, that's fine. That's what this
jute is for.
Jute is for, but...
Now, see, here's the funny part. If we come into the car and we look here, and we see a sea of sound treatment. I mean, they did a nice job of getting all of this. There's no duct tape here. So I mean, this is cool. Other than, like they didn't leave room for the clips to go in. That sucks. And that's why we were going to see what this looked like. I'm sure this just flaps. That's cool. That's a nice find. Good find. I want to have a Charles Barkley little thing that says terrible. So another one of like my pet peeves is RCAs after the fact. So what you're looking at here is there's an RCA that they decided they needed, or one was bad, or who the heck knows. They ran a quick RCA. There were zip ties all along every other, like they did a great job. Here's some zip tie. And they put everything underneath these, but this one is just chilling out. Quick RCA install. Like, you couldn't take the time to lift these up and just tuck it in. Like, I get not wanting to put the zip tie around it, but at least lock it into place. Like, that's some cheesy stuff. We hit the jackpot. So for those of you that remember Nissan Maximas from back in the day, you remember they all had bows. Because like, Nissan was like one of the first companies to just be like, bows everything. I'm guessing this might have had bows. This is the stuff that absolutely drives me crazy. First things first. These are the factory amplifiers. You left them screwed into place. That would assume that you did that because you're thinking that, hey, maybe one day this guy might want to put it back to factory, so I'm just going to leave these here. Okay, because they easily come out. You had the rear deck out. The screws are in the top. You can take them out. Like, you had to take the rear deck to get these in, so you could have taken these out, whatever. But then you grab the harness and you cut the harness right here. You give it exactly an inch of wire so that if you do have to solder it back together, why would you do this? Like, this is stupid. So stupid. Like, this is the stupidest you could possibly be. You have all of this wire, 12 inches, 10 inches, you have 10 inches of wire right here. You could have cut it here so that you could easily put this back together, but no, you're just a scumbag and make it totally sucky for the next guy that has to come in here and fix this. Like, why? And then, okay, cool, crimp caps. Like, I get it, wire-to-wire connection. Sounds good, I have no problem with that. I mean, other than they just look terrible. But, I mean, come on. If you do this to a harness, please get out of the industry. I guess, if you're trying to do a true vintage install, this is what you do. Because this is what you did back in the 90s, the 80s, and that's just how these 911s go. Chaotic at first. I'm still trying to get the radio out of the dash. All right, I finally got to the point to where I could get the radio out of the dash, and before I did it, I kind of wanted to show you what I was talking about when I was describing the type of dash kit this is. It's not necessarily the fault of the designer, well, they could come up with a way to add sleeves in here that would lock this in place, but as you can see, when you just have these plastic arms like this, that this is going to wobble in the dash. You know, the dash kit is just this, where they could have pieces that come off of this area here and like lock into that. That would hold this into place a little better. We're gonna have to figure something out to make this more rigid and not quite so wiggly. I have a couple ideas. And I just found another old 1990s trick that we would do back in the day, and that is, see that little blue thing there? That's a ring terminal. That's the radio's ground, and they're using the factory screw for the kit for the ground. So if you ever need to service this, like you need to pull it out and see if it works, the ground comes off. So you really can't service it, so you'd have to screw the ground back in. Instead of just putting the ground someplace permanently affixed to the car when you pull the radio out so that the radio would still work. Wanted to mount the new Kenwood into place and kind of figure out like how this was all going to work to get it to where it doesn't wiggle in the dash anymore. It's comprised of a whole bunch of things, like here's a shim, and let's take it out. And doing a quick look, piece of 1/4 inch ABS here that screwed into place. That is locking these tabs so that they don't move and flop around. Then we'll support all of the weight of the radio. Another piece of 1/2 inch that goes in here that is taking up this gap from top to bottom. Screws here on the side, screws on the top. So now this is all one solid piece with the body control module, and we've blocked in this whole mount here on the bottom. And then for the top, kind of did the same thing. We took some 1/2 inch pieces and milled them down to the height here, one in the front, one in the back. That made these nice and solid. So now when this goes into the dash, it screws into these 4 points and it doesn't wiggle around, which is great. Another thing we found out after we got everything out of here is, no surprise, factory harness is cut. We'll deal with that. I haven't addressed any of the wiring on the radio. Like, I just wanted to get it mounted and see what I was gonna have to do that. Fernando got the backup camera in and we cleaned this up the best we could. Now this is serviceable. Listen, for those of you guys that are putting this stuff on, if it's not actually sticking to something, it's not gonna do any good. These were just floating pockets of nothingness that were not actually attached. None of this was attached. It all pretty much just peeled off and we were able to reapply it because it wasn't actually pushed into the metal. We cut away everything that made it not serviceable. So now it's all serviceable. We can get to these bolts if we need to. We can get to these wires, filled in some of the gaps. Took the pieces that were here, put them into this area, did the same across here, and of course freed all this up. So if, for God forbid, you have to do anything to the trunk, you can get to it. We also took the amplifiers out of here. We haven't figured out what's going on with these yet. We just have a lot of cut wires. We'll get to that in a little bit. This is just kind of like doing some of the quick preliminary stuff that kind of needs to get done before we can move into the bigger part of it. Now, one thing that we did notice that we're going to change is, if you saw this wire hanging here, this is for this wing, which is taking the place of the third brake light. So the third brake light in this isn't working. It's not even plugged in, and it's just sitting here, and I can see where they try to keep it from rattling. So my next little quick thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to take this over to the router table and router out a plug, and then we're just going to fasten it right here, screw it into place, and that way we won't have to worry about this smacking the rear window. And we're not getting rid of the third brake light because it's already got one. We're just getting rid of a rattly piece that doesn't do anything. All right, there we go. We have a plug here now. It's screwed into place. This is made of 1/2 inch ABS, so we don't have to worry about the sun doing anything to it, warping it or anything like that. Plenty thick. Cool, now we can get this back into the car. For now, we got the rear doors off for me to check out. The first thing we noticed is there is these screws, some 2-inch drywall screws holding these in place. This is what we like to call just a cut. They cut the factory speaker out of there and then just use some really long screws. You can see here on the side where this was just screwing in like this to hold it into place. Yeah, I mean, hey, if that's what you want to do, cool. We don't want to do that. We want it to be serviceable, look professional, and be awesome. This is a JL Evolution CW. Anyways, it's a JL. So we're gonna keep these in along with the tweeter. We are just going to put the right bracket, add in some clips so that this can easily come out, zip tied into place, make it look like it's supposed to look like this, get this all straightened out so that it no longer is embarrassing when you take off the door panel.